Hi everyone. Today I'm here for my critical essay presentation, and the article I chose is about the female quest in Their Eyes Were Watching God. I know we haven't read that yet. It's coming up in about another week or so, and that is actually the book that I chose for my discussion post. So there's a little bit of a spoiler alert in my essay presentation today, because we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that happen a little bit later in the book. So if you've never read it, I'll give you fair warning that there's a little bit of a spoiler. But this article is by Missy Den Kubitschek. And it's called To the Horizon and Back, The Female Quest in Their Eyes Were Watching God. So here's the article. Okay. And her basic thesis of this is that there's an individual quest. Janie is the main character in Their Eyes Were Watching God. And she goes on several adventures throughout the novel. And so the article really concentrates on this quest. What's the prize? Maybe what is she trying to get out of the journey that she goes through? Lots of different ways that I'm just going to call her Missy because I'm not sure that Kubitschek is the right pronunciation. But a lot of different ways that she supports her thesis. She talks about the recurrent themes throughout the novel. You see a lot of dominant forces, both physical forces and forces of nature. You have some different ideal male types that you'll see as you read the book next week or in another couple of weeks. You also have the call to adventure. Janie's always looking for some type of adventure. She kind of begins that call at the beginning with her vision of this pear tree that's in the yard that's close by to her. And then she kind of feels like she just has to get out of the town, has to figure out what's going on. So she kind of uses that as her call. There are some trials that she goes through. The trials have different origins. You have individual trials that she goes through, some personal betrayals that she deals with in the novel. She has some society trials, people that she deals with, black versus white culture in the town, some people who are black but identify with white values. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks. And Missy really talks about that a lot in this article as well. And then natural forces of nature Janie has to deal with. And that's the third trial, and I'm not going to spoil that for you by telling you what the force of nature is. But if you look at the outline that I've got posted below, you will know what that is because I did list that in there. After Janie goes through all these trials, then she goes back to her original town, and Missy refers to that as the questing hero, or the return of the questing hero. And she does meet with several difficulties about that. She's been out. She's been away from the town. She's been away from what she knows. She's been in some other places. And now she has to kind of reintegrate to society in her town because it's different than where she's been for a while. And the community that she comes back to, they've known Janie her entire life, and they kind of treat her a little bit differently. She finally comes to realize this personal nature, why she had to do this quest. And Missy talks about that. She says, she refers to a quote by Janie from page 191 of my version of the book, and this is the copy that I have. But Janie comments again on page 191 that she has been to the horizon and back. She's been almost to the edge. Maybe she's been close to death. And then she's come back. So it's almost like she's come full circle. She realizes that personal nature. She's got each community, these black versus white values, the community that she deals with, her nanny, which is her grandmother who raised her, the two communities that she's lived in before she comes back. Again, you've got some of the black characters who have internalized white values. Her nanny wants to ensure the survival of her granddaughter, so she adopts those white values. But again, once Janie comes back to her community, she's got to figure out kind of how she is going to step back in. She's got a best friend, Phoebe. She's got to learn how to live in her community again. And she kind of has to learn almost what her place is again. But then at the end of the article, Missy says that Zora Neale Hurston, through Janie's character, kind of merges this quest that Janie was on and everything she goes through to form a new experience. And Missy calls it a group ascent or a group quest. And she says group ascent would involve a community's growth to literacy and awareness of the modes of expression in surrounding white culture. Its result, a literate community, would lessen or abolish the isolation of the individual articulate survivor. She goes on to say, that Janie has these ideas. Some other people in the town have these ideas. And so the things that Janie has learned while she's been gone, she ultimately brings back to the community. Janie gains talent. She has talent, experience, flexibility, but she also gains that communal acceptance when she returns. She is a good storyteller. Missy talks about Janie's narration of her own story, and how that narration functions as a call to adventure for other questers. In the end, Missy says that Their Eyes Were Watching God intimates an Eatonville with Janie and a whole group of Phoebes growing 10 feet tall, traveling in company to the horizon and back, ever constructing and renewing both individual and community. So I think it's important that Janie took this quest throughout the book, and we'll probably talk some more about that when we do our discussion on Their Eyes Were Watching God. So I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you back in about another week for my discussion post. Thanks. Have a great week.